Is there anybody out there? Just not if you can hear me. I'll be honest, I started singing that song and I instantly wanted to switch it to, hello, is it me you're looking for? If you're wondering about the quality, it's just me without electricity. I'm all alone in my home. It's been 3 days without power. Technically 2, but for dramatic effect, I'll say it's 3. Southern California Edison, you can go fuck yourself. Take your body off, turn it around, and fuck yourself. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to today's episode. Getting weird on a Wednesday in the wilderness. Am I still in the podcast studio? Yeah, I am. Things are different. Welcome to the PODCASTAWAY special, where I have no electricity. You might be saying, Evan, well, how are you doing this right now? Well, got the iPhone going, got my little zoom, got the earpods recording so I can upload directly to my podcast platform without needing a computer because that died overnight. Listen, the show must go on. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you have to practice what you preach, and your boy does a lot of preaching. Listen, when you have a solo podcast, you're going to catch yourself in a pickle every now and then preaching, just getting up there like those pastors that tempt snakes and be like, the Lord shall protect me. Listen, bars. Your boy practices what he preaches at the end of the day. When it's game time, your boy shows up. The show must go on. Keep it moving, pimping. You just got to keep it moving. And that's what we're doing with the show today. Things are a little bit different. You're like, well, Evan, you still have power in some way. Listen, I'm down to my last light. My last set of batteries that I have for a camera light. And I'm like, what am I going to use this for? Shelter? Am I going to use this for wilderness? Should this be a last resort as a survival thing? Should I keep it and not use it for the show? Fuck that. The show goes on, and the people who listen to 7 Minutes in Evan are the top priority. If I had kids, they need light? No. The podcast listeners need the light because at the end of the day, it's all about production value, kids. Take note. Your boy's fired up on Wednesday, all right? Have we slept in the past couple days? Not really. Could I use a little bit of warm bath water? Yeah, I could. Hair a little disheveled. Listen, it's been a weird couple days. Gonna plan a workout after this. That's why your boy's drinking that pre-workout, that no explode. Listen, let's go back. This is going to be like an M. Night Shyamalan movie where we show you a big part of it and then we go back to the beginning, you know? Like the guy who's just dead in the pool floating. And it's like, you're probably wondering how I got here. And then the movie goes back in reverse. And it's like, the year was 1970. I was just a kid in Brooklyn. And there's like, dunk, 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 dunk. And a little kid walking through a neighborhood with a bunch of Goodfellas type characters. Listen, Martin Scorsese. He laid the blueprint for making those movies. Shout out. But let's go back a couple nights. Me and my fiance, you know? Feels weird saying it. But listen, we're laying in my bed. Her bed too. That's what happens when you get engaged, is everything's split. Till I get a prenup. Anyway, we're laying there. About 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Bam. Power goes out. Bars. No electricity. Bars. No voltage. Bars. Okay? And I'm like, here we go again. Because listen, I don't know if you remember the Christmas episode. I had this big elaborate thing planned. Power went out for 2 days. You know, had a Christmas special episode planned. I was planning a Christmas song and a Christmas poem. I had to end up just doing the Christmas poem that I wrote right before. Listen, had a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, I thought, here we go again. Wind, bullshit wind is what the problem was. But this time your boy was prepared. He was prepared for a little bit of time out. Thought it was going to be 24 hours max. We're past the 48-hour mark, okay? If you're doing math right now, it's probably better than mine. We hit that 48-hour mark. And now it's just pure chaos. We were supposed to have our power on by 4 a.m. this morning, Wednesday morning. And still not on because Southern California Edison is so incompetent. They just, instead of wanting to get sued for their incompetence, they just shut the power off. And are like, well, we don't want to get in trouble for the high winds. And our shit's not really that good. So we just shut it off, ruin everybody's food, fuck up everybody's lives for a couple days. And then we just turn it on. And we're like, oh, okay, we're doing what we can. These power outages are for your protection. It's just annoying, the incompetence of it. But listen, I'm not in the right frame of mind to be talking about this right now, okay? Because your boy's in it. And you need to, sometimes you're too close to the woodchucks to see the forest. You know what I'm saying? And after a few days back with electricity and a full, everything good, knowing that my meats are good in the freezer, they're not. Your boy just went shopping. I got about 8 pounds of chicken in there. I got steaks. I got salmon. Done. Okay? I got a Costco-sized family pack of chicken wings, bone in only. Don't you get out of my face with that boneless wing shit. But that's gone. It's all over now. But listen, in the big picture of things, this is great. It lets me live out my fantasy. The PODCASTAWAY special. Okay? PODCASTAWAY special. I love survival. All right? I just love it. You put on... You ever want to talk to me? You come up to me and you start telling me about Survivor Man episodes. You start telling me about some shit you're watching about these survival shows. Except all that fake Bear Grylls shit. You get out of my face with that fake Bear Grylls. Listen, if you don't know, Bear Grylls is the survival expert. And I'm sure he knows a thing or two. He's probably read a book or two. Listen, you could Google some articles and know a thing or two. But I'm into the one who actually did it. It's like the whole practice what you preach thing. It's the whole, have you actually done this? When people start waxing poetic, but they ain't done it themselves, you're just like, not really impressed. I don't want to hear it from you. I want to hear it from the person who's actually done it, which is why I never really, side note, like with comedy and everything, I never really wanted to do any of those weird comedy classes where it was like you'd have some hacky comedian do a comedy class to teach you some things. I think there might be a couple stage etiquettes you can think or you can get from it, but you never really see these super established comics doing those cash grabs. It's always people who are like, I just got to make money doing this, But anyway, enough of that. Bear Grylls is a phony. He would film all these episodes of doing this wild shit. The man would be drinking his piss, sleeping in a tent, drinking his piss. He'd be like, it's a cold night, and tonight we're going to do what we can to survive. And he pees in his cup, and then he drinks a little. He's like, refreshing. And he's like, we're going to cuddle on this for warmth now. And then they'd be like, and cut. And he'd be like, crikey, get me to the Four Seasons. I don't know what accents I'm merging together right now, but that was it. And he would go stay in the hotels, and then in the morning, he would come back and get back in there with his bottle of piss and be like, oh, now that we're up. And the motherfucker still has fresh breath from brushing his teeth at the Four Seasons and shit, and pretending like he didn't just sleep at the Four Seasons, pretending like he was there all night and suffered. And this is why I respect Les Stroud, Survivor Man. The man would do it. And not only that, he would film the whole process on his own. He would go out into the wilderness and he would just film everything. So if he found something, I remember he because he was in an actual survivor situation, he was allowed to eat endangered species because it was in a real life-threatening situation that he needed that. And he had the okay to eat these foods. I remember he ate a turtle one time. And he ate the turtle, and he also ate a snake, some kind of protected snake. And he was like, fuck it, this shit's delicious, dog. He doesn't talk like that. But I love me some Survivor stuff. But here's the thing, and this is something that I realize as I get older. I loved it when I was younger. Listen, your boy never was a Boy Scout, but I did have a Boy Scout uniform. Why? Because my brother was in the Boy Scouts, and I found his troop number, an old Boy Scout shirt, at the thrift store. And I don't know if it was because of money or something, but for some reason I wasn't able to join the Scouts. So I would just wear a Boy Scout uniform and have my brother like run me through the scout shit. You know, I even got to go on a trip with them, but I wasn't even part of the scouts. I was unscouted. You know, they just didn't want me. I'd be a scout leader's wet dream. Look, I was a cute kid, pudgy, could tell a joke or two. They would love me. You know what I'm saying? Fucking Scoutmaster Slippy Fist. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're in rare form this morning. This lighting ain't bad. Listen. I'm going to tell you guys this one time. I'm the best to do it with this Rembrandt lighting, okay? Look at this Rembrandt lighting. It's actually terrible right now, but this is one thing I was like, well, if I'm going to try to do a podcast with no power, I'm going to have to really make that lighting come through. I don't even know how any of this is going to come out, if it's going to sound good, if it's going to look good, but it is what it is. We're just Keep it moving, pimping, all right? Now, back to this survival shit. My brother and I, we had, one thing that I loved growing up is we lived on a half acre. So decent sized backyard, but we lived in a desert. So it was just all dirt. And we would love making forts. We would make bow and arrows. We used to play this game where I would go to the top of the backyard with a metal trash can lid, and my siblings would shoot arrows up in the air, and I would have to block them from like 50 yards out. Like super fucking dangerous, but it was just a hoodlum, you know? I was just ready to risk it for the biscuit. And one of the things my brother and I used to do is we would take food outside and be like, we're not coming inside until tomorrow, no matter what. And we would we'd just make ourselves survive in the backyard overnight. We'd sleep on the trampoline. We were just ready. And then we got too modern with it, though, because my brother started, he brought out, I remember, a Foreman grill, and we had electricity. And he started grilling chicken and shit, and it was delicious. And I was like, bro, we're kind of going a little too modern with this. This is now turned into like the plushiest survival setting ever. This is something Bear Grylls would do. Literally Bear Grylls, no pun intended. And we had to call it. We were like, all right, we need to stop doing this shit. But here's what I've realized as I've gotten older. Besides having to run a business from home, I had to do a lot of shit from my phone yesterday. And it sucks. And you know when you think that you're like a tough man or a tough person, there aren't very many tough people left, I don't think, in the sense of tough in the big scheme of it, weathered men. You got to go to like Alaska or one of these very desolate places to find a certain kind of man that really isn't tough. Like you have your Jocko Willings and you have your David Goggins making so many bitch men think that they're manly men on the internet because they just run and then their legs hurt and they're like, I kept running though. And I love David Goggins. I love his story. I read his book, and then I even bought the audiobook just to get the second experience. I have Jocko Willings books on audiobook and regular book. But we have a few of those. But in the big picture of men, if you're a modern man, it's very hard to be the kind of man that a lot of men long to be. I know that was a woodchuck. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck riddle? But like in the big picture of it, compared to our ancestors, we are such bitch men. We're modern men. Where it's like, yeah, you want to be fishing out there on the river and like, you're like, oh yeah, I am a man. I provide, I catch fish and I cook it by fire. But then if your foot like slips in the water, you're like, God damn it. You know, you just have this like uncomfortable shoe, you know? I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is like, we're just not as rugged and tough as we like to be. Listen, you get your boy a couple sleeps without sleep, and it doesn't feel good. Like I'm pretty tired right now. And it's just like we've gotten so soft, myself included. I always thought it was so weird. Like when I was younger, like the things we do that we just never stop and think about how weird it is that we do. I remember working construction. I'd work these long hours and I'd be wheeling like a wheelbarrow full of like broken out concrete that I just like broke off with a sledgehammer, and then, wheeling it up a fucking, what are those, U-Haul? Like we used to rent a U-Haul, break out like a giant slab, like someone's patio of concrete, lift all of it up, put it in the wheelbarrow, then wheel it all the way up on, like run it up, the ramp on the U-Haul, dump it out, repeat, sledgehammer, jackhammer, hammer, breaking everything out, and carrying buckets of just rocks, just real rugged shit. And then because it was so brainwashed in me to go to the gym, I would go to the gym after that. At the end of the day, listen, there's some magic years from when you're like 18 to like 26. I'll even give you the early 30s maybe, where it's just like you can just redline it. You got so much testosterone and energy, and you're just like, I'm indestructible. So I would work construction, do all this crazy shit all day, and then I'd go to the gym and start swinging kettlebells and doing all this shit. And then I'd look around and I'd see dudes walking down the fucking aisles at the gym carrying like 45-pound plates on each side. And I'm like, this motherfucker's just doing a wheelbarrow. And then you would see fuckers just straight up sledgehammering tires. And I'm like, this is so weird that we do this shit. We all just come to this building and move shit around for no purpose other than the gratification it gives to us. Like we've become so far removed from reality that now we have to artificially put this back into our life to quiet the mind. I'm like, we could just go out and get a job in construction and you would be getting paid for that time, You can listen to music while you work construction. It's the same thing, Isn't that so weird that you would pay just to go do construction for free with no payoff? Like you don't get paid for it and you don't get the fulfillment of finishing a job. It's just, that has to be a red flag, right? Like when you get into a world or a zone where you're so unfulfilled that you have to go do something like work out just to try to get your mind right. Like working out is your escape. Like it's weird that we've normalized that, where you have to escape from your own life. The same thing with the weekend warriors who they just go out Friday night drinking, partying, and forget about everything and fuck, it's Monday. And then they hate their life again. I don't know why we normalize that, where everybody hates their job. Everybody does this, but you got obligations. You got to get that mortgage. You got to get that car payment. You got to save for college. You got to do this. When it's it was all just a funnel just to keep everything going. I think that's what it is you kind of get a cycle going, a pattern of funneling people through a system that keeps generating money. And then selling people on the American dream is just keeping big businesses going. And then for some reason, it just took on a life of its own. And we all just started regurgitating it to ourselves that we got to go down a certain path and got to do it this way. It's kind of crazy. Listening to my boy Dave Ramsey yesterday, I heard a quote that I really like. And it's something I've thought about a lot because I joke around a lot about being a manimist, but I have strong women in my life, and I love seeing strong women, not in a weird pervy way, like I'm into female bodybuilding. You just go to some exhibit and you just see me there just staring at all the buff ass women. You come to my home and I just have tons of Xena Warrior Princess DVDs and VHS. I just really like her work. The way she would go, ay, 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 ay. It's an obscure reference. But I always thought it was bad. There's a couple things. And I always thought it was weird that men and women would ever compete on the same playing field. In the sense of there's so many differences that I never really got the argument of women can do every job that a man can do just as good or better, which, I mean, I know what the sentiment means, but I don't agree with it, because if we're all right, let's talk about cage fighting. Can a woman do that as good? What about sports in general? Can a woman do that as good? Because here's the flip side before the feminists turn me off. Can a man do all the jobs that a woman can do just as good as a woman? Fuck no. There are so many things that women do better than men just by nature. And it's because we both have our skills and our strengths and our advantages. And I think there was a swing like in the wrong way where it was like housewives and everything like that. Like I thought there were some things like that. I read an article from like 1970s about how you should treat your man when he comes home from work. And it was basically teaching women how to be obedient and like be a good housewife and just so supportive of their man. And I was like, this is way too fucking weird. And I felt like it was really disrespectful towards women and also belittling. And like, it was just not good. But then I think there was a swing in the other direction where it was like women can do all the things that men can do. And, you know, the same thing, men can do all the things that a woman can do, which I don't think they're both true. And then this quote I saw by Dave Ramsey, it was interesting because it was like women get put in a very interesting position when they start having kids. And the women feel guilt if they just want to be a mother and a homemaker and take care of the kids and stay at home and not get a job. And then, but the catch-22 is they'll experience guilt if they do want a career and don't want to just be at home with the kids. And, you know, and it's kind of a shitty place. And I think it's based off of, I don't know. I think there's so many illusions and things we create that things have to be a certain way just because that's how they've been for a while. Like sometimes you have things happen that spawn off of and balance off of something that wasn't even realistic in the first place. Like ideology that doesn't make sense. Like the whole I don't know the point I'm trying to make with the American dream. I had it all tied up beautiful in my head. But I feel like sometimes we just get in routines and start saying things that it doesn't even really make sense in the big picture, but everybody's been doing it for so long that it's become normal. Like the same thing with working out, like going to a gym. I'm like, it's all so pointless. Like if you look at so much stuff in general, we're like, what the fuck is this? Why? Like if aliens land and they were like, okay, what is the point of this place? Okay, well, people go there. They all go into the building and they run there. And they're like, okay, so they drive there in their car and then they run in a stationary position. But what is the overall goal and objective of this? Well, it's good for their mind and their body. Okay, but what is the actual fulfillment and objective? Well, it doesn't actually do anything for society in general, but, you know. But they get to call themselves a beast, you know. Like there's no practical value to it, and it's just so weird. And obviously, I'm a meathead, so I do it every single day. No days off. Just kidding. But it's just so weird. Same thing with like porn. I was like thinking about this. I wasn't on porn thinking about it because then I'd be like, I'm a hypocrite. But like if aliens landed, I've been thinking about aliens a lot lately just because there's so much shit going on. But like, what would they think of us? You know? And it was like, yeah, people like to watch other people just procreate. Why? Because we were like trying to fight our natural urges and tendencies to procreate. So we just watch videos. And it's like diet life. You know, we're just living vicariously through it. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We're just weird people. This is what you guys get on the fucking Castaway episodes. You know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? This is what you get. This ain't like a regular episode. I don't even know if anything's recording. You know, I hope so. We're going to figure it out. But yeah, we've been without power for, it's going to be 3 days tonight. And allegedly, we were supposed to get it back on at 4 a.m. today. And now they're saying tomorrow at noon. Or tomorrow at 6 p.m., allegedly. And I mean, I hope I can put the audio up of this podcast if you're listening, if you're watching this video. Obviously, I made it. I got electricity again. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. It also is a perspective thing. because I was thinking about it. And in the big picture, if you always compare yourself to the entire world, you feel silly for first world problems. Because you can be like, oh, wow, my power's been out for 3 days, but there's little kids in Africa that don't have power at all. And you can also think, oh, there's little kids in America that don't have power at all. Like, things can always be worse. And I don't know where the balance is. Where's the line? Because it's very hard to tell someone this. And I never do it because I've done it before, of trying to tell people, like, life could be so much worse. But it's like when people are going through problems or relationships, or they start complaining about first world problems, I feel like the worst thing you could do is tell that person, get over it. There's little kids in Africa with this, happening, Fucking deep today. Deep on the podcast. We'll end it with this. Today was Inauguration Day. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about to talk about it on the podcast. I was going to talk about fighting, Conor McGregor fighting this weekend. But fuck that. Let's talk about the inauguration. I think it's crazy that I don't know what happens now. Obviously, Biden has these plans. Kamala Harris, I understand this is a big moment for a lot of people. I don't like seeing people so divided online. And it's just so volatile. There's a lot of people that are happy, and I see them posting their happy posts and everything. Good. I want people to be happy. I want people to feel like good things are going to happen in their life. And if that's something that motivates them, is having the first female vice president and a minority, that's great. I think it is great progress. In no way am I a feminist, but I think it's great progress. Do I think, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. Do I think she was the best candidate for a VP? No. She's done some bad things, but, I'm happy for people who are happy. It's so weird that Trump didn't go to the inauguration, that he's just on vacation now. Wherever I forgot the name of that place he has his vacation home. Mar-a-Lago, I think it is. It's just so odd, all of it. All of it's so odd. It's so odd to me that, like, politics in general, how they're so vicious with each other. And so even Biden and Harris, before they became running mates, literally just tearing each other down. And they're like, oh, that was just the campaign, Like, that's just what you do. It's like WWF or something. It's for show. It's for, campaigning. You got to be ruthless. That's the name of the game. But it's like we normalized that. I hate saying normalized because I feel like that's a new millennial thing to say. Normalized. What have we normalized about our emotions? But it's just the best way to get that point across. Like, I feel like, especially with how crazy things got over the Capitol, like the Capitol riots and everything, it's crazy how quick everybody gets along and can be like, oh, that was just for that. That was just for the campaign. That's just, for the press. That's how it is with the party lines. But it's like, you realize that people are out there ruining families over these arguments. Dude, I know multiple families that have been torn apart by these last few years because of Trump, because of Biden, because of just everything. So many people. And it's like, I always feel like the best thing to do is not get manipulated by the news and come up with your own rational thoughts on what things are. And it's like, man, getting your emotions out of it is huge with coming with decisions, and also understanding why people make the decisions they make, like, why would they make that choice? What do they really want out of it? Because I know people in older generations. I know people who support Trump 100%, and I know people who hate him. I know people who love Biden. I know people who hate him. And it's like, you can understand where people are coming from. And I feel like that's something that's kind of left, is that people aren't allowed to have an opposite thought without being labeled as something. Where it's like, oh, they just understand something different and there's different perspectives. But it's like we've gotten way too volatile and focused on these one-word answers or these one-word understandings and labels for situations that have so many variables. It's crazy. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you. And I don't know if I'll ever be back. This could be the final episode if the grid goes down. I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, if the grid goes down, the show goes on. Okay? The show goes on. And I'm going to start sending a pigeon to every single listener with a podcast. I'm going to put that shit on VHS tapes. And I'm going to get some buff-ass pigeons. They're going to be on testosterone replacement therapy. And I'm going to be flying them to every listener. Okay? That's what I'm going to do for you guys because I love you. At the end of the day, I still love you. Okay? Listen, if you haven't liked, comment, subscribed, reviewed the podcast, it's greatly appreciated. All right? If you're curious about everything I normally use to film these podcasts, you can always look in the description of the YouTube video. It'll show you all my gear. I get asked that on a regular basis. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you Monday. And remember, no matter what, I still love you.